Looking for clarity and confidence when it comes to decision making for your business? You've come to the right place. You're now listening to the Atomic Business Coaching Podcast.
All right, so this week's episode, I want to talk about some stuff that Tom and I are doing. We're in a book club, and it's a book called Day Trading Attention, written by Gary Vaynerchuk, and we have 7 entrepreneurs that have been reading this together, and then we share our insights and everything. And you know, it's a lot about social media and how to help your business out. And any of you who are listening to this, you're most likely a business owner or you're involved with business owners. And you know, social media is something that you have to do now, right? It's really not a choice. And some of the things that I've taken away from this aren't about the tactics. They're not about, you know, the best usage of things or what works and what doesn't work. What I really have been taking away from this is it's kind of been bullshit. And I don't mean social media. I mean the way that Tom and I use social media, the way that I've watched many of my clients use social media. And there's a certain point when you can't be a hypocrite and you can't talk about how you're going to help people and not help yourself. And I want to talk about kind of being more vulnerable and having the ability to learn and having the ability to implement. So, Tom, I want to use the book as what we've been talking about over the last 3 weeks in the club, and just not necessarily specifically just social media, but more about what we've taken away, what we learned about what it takes to execute on our business, what we need to do, what, you know, anyone who's listening to this should consider. And yeah, let's take it from there, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you know, like the thing he talks about the most in the book is about being authentic and being your authentic self and not and being real through your authenticity and allowing yourself to be very vulnerable. And it was interesting, as I was reading the book last night in preparation for today, I was like, this is really hitting me hard. Am I being authentic enough in everything that I do? Am I letting people see the real me? Am I allowing myself to be out there the way I should? And that's what I think you're talking about in being hypocritical, right? I mean, that's the key, is how authentic are you really? And are you 100% authentic? Is there a gradation to authenticity? Like, how do you measure that? How do you determine that?
And I think that, you know, that's the part that hit me the hardest as well. I'm glad it was for you too, is that, you know, I feel I'm pretty wide open in our coaching, and I share stories of things that are very, you know, personal. They're useful in this situation because I'm trying to use stories to help people understand where they're at and where they can go. And then I feel that we do a good enough job on social media doing this, but then I really start to think, I'm like, how open am I? How much am I sharing? And listen, I don't expect anyone listening to this to share every part of your life. You know, there's certain things we want to protect. You know, like once in a while I'll use or talk about my children, but very, very rarely, you know, and that's not something I think is appropriate. If you want to do it, that's wonderful, you know, but there's certain things that's like, why aren't I going out there and talking about these things? They've made a huge impact in my life, positively or negatively. I've been in situations that I've learned from. I've been in certain things that were exciting. I've been in things that were troubling and scary. And when I start to think about it, it's like, why am I not talking about that more? Am I trying to fit into this box that's appropriate for almost a facade that needs to go out there? But then when they get behind closed doors and they work with me, they get to see everything. And it's like, why would I have that inside of coaching, but not put that out there in the world? And that's my thought process after this, is like, why am I not doing that?
Well, you know, it really, the way you were describing that, I could only think of this one thing. We all take on a professional persona based on the industry or the profession that we enter. And, you know, when I was a physician assistant, you were expected to be a certain way. And when you're a coach, you're expected to be a certain way, a lawyer, a certain way. Like, and everybody is expected through societal understanding of an industry or a role that there's certain ways that someone should behave. And there's such a emphasis from society on, if you're in this role, you should behave this way. But what we all forget is that we have freedom of choice, and we have free will, and we're all human beings. And the professional way of being or behaving is not necessarily the authentic way of behaving. And it depends on how much you let those societal constructs influence your behavior. And I think that's what takes away the authenticity, right? Like any limit that you put on who you truly are is going to be impacted. You have to remove the limits. You have to remove not so much the boundaries, but you have to allow yourself to be your true self and not have to succumb, and I use that word specifically, and give into it and die to it to be something that you're not. And I think that's what most of us struggle with.
It's interesting that you say that, because you're right. There's these personas that are thrust upon us through society or a job or a university you went to or a team that you're on or whatever it is, of being a parent. And when you really start to dig into this, and what I'm seeing is a lot of people out there on social media who are business owners, they usually worked for somebody else before that. They kind of had to conform to that culture, that model, that expectation, right? And it might be, for me, I haven't talked about it a lot, but I have other businesses that are in a very regulated industry in finance that have put me in a position where I have to be super guarded in everything that I say. But not when I'm over here, not when I'm doing this, and not, it's not to share every little detail, but there's aspects of what we all do every single day that are useful. And there's someone else that may want to hear that. And, long time ago, this is in my 20s, used to go out, to Manhattan, go to the clubs on Saturday nights, and we'd always come back 4 a.m, and you kind of had breakfast together. And there was this one guy, he was super drunk. And he said, he was just, philosophizing. And he's like, I am who you think I am, Adam. And this saying stuck with me. Yeah, it stuck with me forever. So I'm going to say it again. I am who you think I am. And the thing is, well, who do I think I am? Because if I really am who you think I am, that's what I am in this moment. And I know that's a little confusing, but we get to choose, as you said, Tom. We have this freedom to be what we want on social media, to be what we want at barbecues, to be what we want with our clients. So why do we leave pieces out? Why do we do that? Why are we not just being who we are, so people don't have to think I think I'm something? They'll know I am something. And that is really what struck me the hardest through reading this book is, there's awesome tactics in there, and he's an authority in the space, and he's telling me things and confirming things I've heard. But that piece is hey, there's value behind who you are and what you've done. Feel free to share it with the world.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the judgment that we experience from the outside. A judgment takes away our ability to be authentic. Because we're afraid of what other people may think. Again, it comes down to societal construct and societal norms and societal expectations.
But what about for businesses, right? We're in a different era of business, where business isn't this, you wear a suit and tie, you do your job, you punch the clock 9 to 5 and you leave. And most of who listens to this, and most of who we coach, and most of who we engage with on social media is in this very similar situation where they're in total freedom of what they want to do. But how do we migrate out of I'm supposed to I get to?
That's very hard. You're supposed to versus you get to. It's really, a lot of business owners, I think, look for the success or the validation that what they get to do has been proven, and they don't have to, it's not a supposed to do, right? They're trying to find the thing that, because what do business owners want? They want evidence. And we talked about in a recent podcast, they want evidence to have the confidence to get to do the thing that they want to do. It comes from the evidence. And I think when they don't have that evidence, this is where imposter syndrome creeps in as well, is that I don't have the evidence to support that I get to do whatever I have to do. So I have to go with what evidence supports what I'm supposed to do, right? So it's when do they draw that distinction between the evidence that supports the supposed to do versus the evidence that supports what I get to do. And I think until you achieve that evidence or success, you then get to do what you get to do. Does that make sense?
It does. And you're making me think deeper on imposter syndrome. Maybe imposter syndrome is bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe imposter syndrome is just these restrictions we put upon ourselves because we're like, I don't know if I could do this. Because you're not allowing yourself to do what you know you can do.
Correct.
And that's what I'm getting at here is I think we know what we can do, but we're scared to do it.
Right.
And a lot of that comes through in what you're portraying out there on social media and in the public world.
Yep.
So maybe you're an imposter. Maybe I'm an imposter. Maybe people are an imposter. And they have that syndrome because they're actually not being who they truly are. Because they think there's a negative byproduct on it. And businesses now, like I'm saying, they have this freedom to do whatever they want, serve whoever they want. They have access to 7-8 billion people now. Is that maybe you don't have to have imposter syndrome. You could just be exactly what you are and find this tribe of people that relates to you and the things that you're relevant about. And that's what you get to be. You don't have to conform to the big this and the big that. You get to actually create whatever you want now. But maybe us included are not allowing that to take place.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. Be who you're going to be, and you will find your tribe, or your tribe will find you as a result of that. And that's one of the things that he talks about in the book around cohorts, right? Is whittling down to a very, very, very specific thing. Like in the chapter last night, like if you want to target 18 to 25-year-old males, well, maybe you got to go a step further. Males that watch basketball and live in Tennessee is going to be very different than males that are in New York and hiking in the, Adirondacks. And this is where if you allow yourself to be your true self, and this is the law of attraction, and I don't want to get too woo-woo, but if you put out there who you are authentically, the people who are attracted to you that are going to be your tribe are going to follow you, and they're going to learn from you, and you're going to learn from them. And you don't have to worry about anything else because then you found your tribe. We all have a place where we fit in this world. And sometimes we try so hard, and I say this all the time to people, don't try to fit into other people's lives. Let people fit into your life. And I think I'm getting such clarity right now in this conversation with you what that really means. What that really means is be your authentic self so that the people that you need to be around are attracted to you and are with you. And then you will live more authentically, period.
I'm thinking about who I'm really attracted to, listening to, learning from, consuming their content and everything. And notice I said who, right? I didn't say what.
Right.
Like, I don't really follow brands anymore. I follow people that represent the brand. And maybe they're the owner of it. Maybe they're working there, whatever it may be. Or maybe they're just industry experts in a specific industry. If that makes sense. But maybe they have specific expertise.
Industry. Yeah.
Yeah, like they know how to change oil. Like there's some people that I watch, and my daughter watches too, and she's 8 years old, that it's like these people are just experts at restocking their refrigerators. And it's like, it's weird, but like there's millions of people watching it. And it's like, okay, so if that's the case, right? If we're really, as a society, starting being more and more attracted to these people, and AKA influencers, right? They influence our consumption. Well, why wouldn't we as business owners start doing that? So many, especially newer business owners, I said it's both ends of the spectrum, newer or ones that have a legacy business that it's proven and tried and true, right? The middle is different, but those newer and the tried and true. Most of the newer ones that we work with, regardless if they're making millions of dollars or they're making their first dollar, these newer business owners that we work with, they're all talking about the result. And their differentiator is how they arrive at the result and the results that they deliver. When if I look at who I purchase things from, that's kind of a byproduct. Like, I liked them. I liked the way they thought. I liked the things they do. And then they happen to have either provided a service or a product that I'm like, I like this guy. If he likes this thing, maybe I'll like this thing too. right? Or I like that this chick is really awesome. When I watch her, it's very interesting and engaging, and she provides this service that I need that service. I'd rather do it with them.
Right.
Maybe we've got this all backwards and upside down and inside out. And you're like,
that's what it feels like.
maybe it doesn't start with the result and how I do this and what you want and what you need and the solutions and the problem. Maybe it just starts with like, do we like each other? Am I interested in one another?
Yeah. Because you're more inclined to buy from somebody that you like, that you feel you can trust, that you build a relationship with, that has some kind of connected energy to you, right? That's the thing. It's the energy that we get from other people that attracts or unattracts us to that person. Is that how that energy mixes with your own energy and how you feel around that person, right? We tell people all the time, surround yourself with like-minded people, because when you surround yourself with like-minded people, they are usually on a very similar frequency of energy that you want to be on or that you are on, or they might be a higher level of energy that you really want to achieve and you want to emulate. So you hang around those people. And that energy, what I'm saying, is really the authenticity. You don't have to put on an air. You don't have to put on an act to be friendly with that person, because you already connect. You know, when you meet somebody and it's like you've been friends forever, there's an energetic connection that exists because it allows you to be your authentic self, because you don't have to impress. You could just be you, because that, you know, that person sees the truest version of you.
Right. Yeah, that's something interesting here. I'm thinking about.
If people aren't watching this episode, Adam is in like his head right now. Like I can see like it's running wild on the inside, just like, holy cow, there's something happening here. And I want people to appreciate that, because the level of depth that you're going into is, I love when you go there. It's awesome because I could see it.
Yeah, I feel it. It is happening. The place I just was is that I'm now going through my brain of purchases I make and things I do. And what I'm realizing is, again, I'm going back to people that I follow on social media regularly, that I admire them, or I appreciate them, or they do bring value, or they do bring entertainment. But most of these people, I have a predetermination that I'm not buying their shit. Like I have no interest in buying their thing, but I still pay attention to them. And I still watch. I'm not going to buy their thing. I already know it. Either I have it, I do it, I don't need it. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to buy this thing. But as I was just thinking that through, I'm like, but when the day comes that they have the thing that I do need, I wouldn't even hesitate to buy it. Like, it's just like, of course I'm doing that with you. And maybe that's the thing, is when you're inside with somebody, you're in the inner circle with somebody, you already trust them. And that day that you need the thing that they have, there's zero hesitation, regardless of cost, regardless of effort, regardless of results. You're just like, I'm in it with you already, and thank you. I appreciate that. Here's my money.
Right.
With no other question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what I'm struggling with. Have you and I really done that, or are we just focused on results and problems and solutions?
That's an interesting question. I would say, I think we've done both. I think when we meet with people one-on-one, we always are there to help, and we usually offer some kind of help. But the level of connection takes time to develop. Whereas when we're in our group with all the people in Project 2740, we are really focused more on getting them results, but helping to build a relationship with them, so that when they get to that point where they need us for more, it's the no-brainer choice. right? It's kind of like, it's also like when I think about networking, we do this all the time in networking because we have always approached networking, and you taught me this. We've always approached networking with how can I help you? And we really, and I know you and I both firmly believe in it's about helping somebody else. And when we say that to people that are first timers to any of our networking meetings that we have, it's an eye opener for them. And I think it changes and makes it more successful because we're not attaching to the result and buy my shit, or I want you to buy my shit. And that's really, I think we live and try to, and here's the thing, I think we try really hard to be as authentic as we can in those situations to help the people so that when they do have a situation, they think of us and they say, yeah, I got to have those guys help me out.
Yeah. Right. When they realize like, oh, I could use them or I could.
Right.
And I think you're right. We do both. And what I'm questioning now is why, if we do both, why am I not doing that more in these town squares, so to speak, of LinkedIn? I'm spending most of Atomic's time on LinkedIn now.
Yep.
I don't really do much on Instagram, and we have our podcast here, obviously, and other things, but it's maybe I have to approach it from, I'm just not friendships, but I don't even know where it is, but it's just this more openness of my general experience and philosophies and opinions and views on things. And then if those people end up saying, hey, I'm interested in this person, and then the day comes they need the thing that I do or that we do or that we create in the future, there's no real question for them. They're just automatically doing it.
Correct.
I'm going to leave it on that, man.
I 100% agree with that.
Whew, big episode.
That was a good one. Your wheels were fucking spinning, man.
Crazy. Hey, thanks for listening. We appreciate this. Share this with somebody who needs it. Thanks, guys. Bye.